Leafs fans, do you feel it? It's not just the chill in the air or the sound of skates hitting the ice at Scotiabank Arena. It's something bigger. It's the silence before the turning point. While everyone watches the regular season games, follows the stats, and cheers for spectacular goals, the true fate of the Toronto Maple Leafs is being written far from the spotlight. 3 moves, 3 decisions, 3 bets capable of turning decades of frustration into a new era of glory or repeating the old cycle of disappointment that haunts us. The first piece of this puzzle has already been placed. Quietly, without front-page headlines, Scott Laughton arrived under the radar unnoticed, and he was exactly the one who silenced the top names of the opposing team in the playoffs. The guy who provoked the former teammate at the right time, who got his jersey dirty so Nylander could shine. And now, with a full off-season to adjust, Laughton might be exactly what Toronto has always looked for, a defensive anchor who plays for respect, not applause. The second piece is still up in the air, and it has a name, talent, and a lot of zeros in the contract: William Nylander. Charismatic, skilled, and constantly criticized for not carrying the team in crucial moments. With a $92 million cap hit, Nylander has become the epicenter of an inevitable question: were the Leafs willing to sacrifice to finally change course? The question is no longer if something needs to change, it's how much they're ready to lose in order to finally win. Then comes the third move, the boldest, the riskiest. Trevor Zegras for Easton Cowan. Immediate impact versus promising future. A talent already proven, though inconsistent, for a kid who hasn't even had the chance to show his worth in Toronto. This trade is more than a market move. It's a cry of desperation. It's the courage to change, even if it hurts. These aren't just summer rumors. These are real pieces being put together by Craig Berube and Brad Treliving, with a clear mission to turn a good team into a championship team. And you, passionate fan, will be a witness, or perhaps a victim, of the choices that could rewrite the Leafs' history. So I ask you, will Toronto finally have the courage to do what true champions do? Will we stop repeating the same mistakes and build something new, bold, and victorious? Or will we simply watch once again history repeat itself with different names? If you live this drama as if you were inside the locker room, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Would you keep Nylander at all costs? Would you trade the future for Zegras now? Or do you believe the best is still to come with patience? Toronto's soap opera is far from over, and the next chapter could change everything. First move, Scott Laughton, the invisible man who changes everything. He didn't come with promises, nor fireworks. When Scott Laughton wore the blue and white jersey for the first time, many fans didn't even know what to expect. He wasn't a scorer, nor a name that trended on social media. But for those who truly understand hockey, for those who feel the game beyond the stats, he was a hidden gem. In his first 10 games for the Leafs, no points, no goals, no headlines. But little by little, he became indispensable. Alongside David Kampf and Kaye Jarnkrok, he formed a line that doesn't show up in the highlights but defines entire series. Against the Senators, they were the ones who blocked the clutch shots, who stopped Ottawa's advances at center ice, who gave Nylander the space he needed to score. Berube knew this from the start. He's game spirit, the coach said. He defends well, kills penalties, and has locker room personality. And when a championship coach says that, you listen. Laughton also wasn't afraid to get into opponents' heads. Against Claude Giroux, his former Flyers teammate, he taunted to perfection. He got emotional responses, destabilized the rival's leadership. That's playoff hockey. That's a winning mindset. Now, with a full off-season ahead, Laughton finally has time. Time to learn the system, build chemistry, become a silent leader. And if he already made an impact while adapting mid-storm, imagine what he'll do with a full season ahead. Second move, William Nylander. Talent or emotional trap? The truth must be told. William Nylander is brilliant, but he's also a crossroads. The fans are enchanted by his plays. The team depends on his presence. But for how long? With a $92 million contract, Nylander isn't just an expensive player. He's the symbol of a hope that never materializes. The Leafs stack up stars, but keep stumbling in the same games, the same series. And when history repeats itself so often, something needs to change. Darren Pang wasn't afraid to say it. Maybe it's time to sacrifice the most valuable piece to change the storyline. Nylander, even being one of the best, is the player who makes a trade possible and necessary. His market value is sky high. His contract weighs on the salary cap, and what he represents emotionally might be what's keeping the Leafs from moving forward. Trading Nylander would be painful, but maybe that's exactly what the franchise needs. Courage to cut ties, to break the pattern, to build a more balanced, more physical roster, better prepared for the battles of April and May. Imagine what a well-planned trade could bring. A top-four defenseman, a third-line center, promising young players, a new team. And you, fan, would you stick with Nylander or trade the star to free the team? Third move, Zegras for Cowan, the leap of faith. What if the only way to fix the present is to give up the future? The Trevor Zegras for Easton Cowan trade may seem simple, 1-for-1, but it carries the weight of an entire decade of broken hopes. Cowan is the promise, the moldable kid, the player who could someday become a star. But Toronto is tired of promises. The time to win is now. Zegras is spectacle. He's bold. He's a viral star in every highlight. But he's also a risk. Injuries, inconsistency, uncertainty. Trading for him is a bet that screams, we won't wait anymore. For Anaheim, the move is obvious. They get youth and flexibility. For Toronto, it's all or nothing. Zegras could be the spark that ignites this team, or the flame that burns everything down too soon. This decision divides the locker room, divides the front office, divides the fans in the stands, but it also defines the truly great. And now, the fate of the Toronto Maple Leafs is at stake, not just in each pass or goal, but in the decisions that the average fan may not even see. Craig Berube and Brad Treliving are at the wheel. But it's you, the fan, who feels every turn. Could Lawton be Toronto's new silent leader? Is it time to say goodbye to Nylander? Is Zegras truly the future or the end? The next season begins now. In the backstage, in the trades, in the tough decisions, and in the heart of every fan who never stopped dreaming. If you live this passion like we do, leave your comment. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and get ready. Because the next video will bring an explosive question. What happens if Marner or Tavares leave for nothing? But what if the worst is yet to come? Have you stopped to think what could really happen if the Leafs lose Mitch Marner or John Tavares for nothing? This isn't just a financial nightmare. It's the kind of blow that could destabilize an entire locker room culture, destroy the morale of a whole roster, and worse, shatter the trust of a fan base that has seen this movie before. Marner is more than a talent. He's a face, an identity. The Toronto kid who grew up under the spotlight, played for the city, and carried on his back the burden of representing a nation of fans hungry for glory. Tavares, on the other hand, is the captain, the symbol of the rebuild, the veteran who chose the Leafs when he could have gone anywhere else. Both have heavy contracts, true. Both divide opinions. But letting either of them go without return would be more than a planning failure. It would be an open wound in the heart of the franchise. Brad Treliving knows this. Craig Berube too. That's why what Toronto decides to do with these two names will set the tone for the future. Renew? Trade before the end? Risk losing them for nothing? Each of those choices has a price, and none of them are cheap. The clock is ticking, and every second counts. The off-season has barely started, and Toronto is already in the eye of the storm. The foundation that once felt solid now shakes. And you, the fan, are in the center of it all. Watching, suffering, waiting. But that wait doesn't need to be passive. Here on Leafs News Fan Report, we'll follow every step, every rumor, every confirmation. Because this story is still being written, and it could very well start with an unexpected trade, a surprising renewal, or a decision that will shake the entire NHL. So subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and comment now. Would you let Marner leave for nothing? What would you do with Tavares in the final stretch of his contract? We want to hear your voice. Because true fans don't just watch, they become part of the story. What would you do if you had two of the most iconic names of your franchise and knew you might lose them for nothing? Because that's exactly where the Leafs are. Facing a crossroads that doesn't forgive hesitation. Renew Marner and Tavares, or face the abyss and start over. Mitch Marner represents an era, a promise fulfilled, but maybe limited. Drafted to be the hometown hero, he grew up with the pressure of carrying the crest like a second skin. His stats? Impeccable. His effort? Rarely questioned. But the question that echoes in the locker room, in the halls of Scotiabank Arena, and at every debate table is another. Is he the kind of player who wins in the playoffs? Marner is in the last year of his contract. And unlike Matthews, he doesn't seem willing to take a hometown discount. Rumors of a difficult renewal are growing, and the signs of a possible trade get stronger every week. But who would have the courage to trade Toronto's own kid? And more importantly, who would have the courage not to trade him and lose him for absolutely nothing? And what about John Tavares, the captain, the veteran, the face that symbolized hope for a new era when he left the Islanders and came home? But time passes, and on NHL ice, time is ruthless. Tavares no longer dominates like he once did. His $11 million per year contract weighs on the cap. And the cruel question that arises among fans and analysts is as direct as a slap shot. Is it worth keeping him until the end? Or would it be better to find a respectful and strategic way out now? The answer isn't simple. Because Tavares still brings leadership. He's still a role model for the younger guys. But the Leafs don't have time. The championship won't wait. And every dollar tied up in sentimental contracts is a dollar that could be invested in reinforcements, depth, a structure to win in April and maybe June. So, what to do? Imagine losing Marner and Tavares next offseason for nothing. No picks. No prospects. Nothing but silence. That would be more than a planning mistake. It would be a symbol of stagnation, of fear to act, of a franchise stuck in cycles, hoping for different endings. But if you dare, if you act with coldness and vision, then maybe this is the perfect opportunity to turn the page, to rebuild the core, to open up cap space, to bring in fresh blood, to change the identity. And that's why the next decision will be the hardest and the most revealing. Brad Treliving doesn't have an easy choice in his hands. But what he does with Marner and Tavares will be remembered for years, as the move that freed Toronto or the hesitation that sank everything. And you, fan, what would you do? Keep Marner even without a renewal guarantee? Try to trade Tavares even though he has a no-trade clause? Or keep everything as it is and pray for a playoff miracle? Comment down below. Leave a like if this video made you think. And if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe now, because the next chapter could be even more explosive. Because if Marner or Tavares leave, who leads the team? Who takes on a Leafs identity? Who becomes the face of the next generation? In the coming days, we'll analyze trade scenarios involving Marner, possible destinations for Tavares, and the names that could come in and change everything. The offseason is just beginning, and the future of the Toronto Maple Leafs might be about to be rewritten.